Hello everybody, my name is Valeria Galindo. This is for SGS 340. I will be talking about debate 4, specifically side B. So side B is about stopping US funded weapons and military aid to Saudi Arabia to stop violence and conflict in Yemen. So for my debate, I'm going to try to be focusing mainly on two different aspects. So one of them would be human rights violations, and the second would be allyship and complacency. So a little background for Yemen. The conflict in Yemen is a result of a civil war that has been going on since about 2015 in the country. It's a result due to Houthi rebels, which is a faction of rebels or sort of a terrorist organization that is an extremist Islamic organization. And the Houthis are backed by, or supposedly backed by Iran, although Iran claims differently. And then there's the other side, which would be the military, which is the legitimate military of the country, backed by Saudi Arabia. So there's these two opposing sides in the country that originally led to conflict. So in terms of human rights, Yemen is the worst human rights catastrophe that there is in the world, according to the United Nations. So as a result of the war that has been going on in the country, as of June of 2016, there was 67,650 civilian and combatant deaths in the country. Of course, that is including combatants as well, but regardless, those are human lives that have been lost due to this issue. So many of the things that come with human rights and it being defined as the worst human rights situation by the UN in the history of the world, it comes with different aspects. Of course, it comes with civilian deaths as well as famine. This is due to the disarray that the country has found itself in for the past years. So it's led to high numbers of malnutrition, disease, and poor health in the country. According to the UN, 20 million people are in need of securing food. So there's basically all of the civilian population is unable to secure food due to the war that's going on. This is both in parts due to the Houthi rebels who take food and basically hoard it or keep it from civilians as a form of being able to control the populace. And then just due to the conflict that's going on and the constant bombings that there is from the Saudi Arabian coalition, this also leads to people not being able to have food, which leads to deaths. Another thing with famine and disease is that medical facilities are shut down. Only about half of the country's running medical facilities are running currently. So this leads to disease because people aren't able to get the right medical care that they need. An example of this or effect of this situation is that the country is seeing the largest cholera outbreak that they've ever had. And of course, like we know, cholera is spread very easily, and when people aren't able to go to the doctor and get cured, it just creates more cases, so more people get sick. My other point for the debate was allyship and complacency. So US funded weapons and aid results in Yemenis deaths. This can be proven by many points. The US and Saudi Arabia are allies, as well as other US allies are allied with Saudi Arabia. This, of course, leads them to provide military aid, military training, as well as weapons and money to fund their campaigns. So one of the reasons that the U.S. should stop providing these supplies to Saudi Arabia is due to the Saudi Arabian coalition airstrikes that go on in Yemen. So since 2015, there have been about 90 unlawful airstrikes targeting civilians, and these are only the known ones. So when I say targeting civilians, these airstrikes were specifically did not go to a location where Houthis were known to be held or to be in. These airstrikes struck civilian homes, restaurants, public places where civilian lives were lost, as well as many lives of children were lost as well. And in these, one may argue, well, these weren't, this isn't funded by the U.S., this isn't what the U.S. is funding, but remnants of U.S. origin munitions were found on at least 12 of those sites. So that goes to show you maybe the original intent of the U.S. isn't to lead deaths and conflict in Yemen, but as a result of supporting Saudi Arabia, that is the result, the deaths of civilians. Another point is that Saudi Arabia has been proven to use banned weapons, such as landmines and other cluster munitions throughout Yemen, in hopes of getting Houthi rebels. But this is, like I said, they're banned weapons, and that is because of the 1997 mine ban treaty that Yemen is a part of, as well as Saudi Arabia and other countries within the Middle East. And then third, going back to human rights as well, Saudi Arabia has imposed restrictions on imports into the country, and so this has blocked and delayed humanitarian aid from entering the country. So, for an example, gas is delayed into entering the country. Gas that is needed to power generators for hospitals where people are seeking medical attention, as well as water, where people's water supplies has been cut off due to the conflict and the bombings. Water that is being imported into the country by humanitarian aid has been blocked and delayed, which leads to deaths and more disease. So once again, we're just having the deaths of innocent civilians due to the U.S. backing Saudi Arabia, who is making all of these decisions in this country, which is affecting the Yemeni population. So that's why U.S. funded weapons and U.S. funded support of Saudi Arabia should cease, not only to help with the humanitarian crisis that is going on in the country, but also to improve, I guess, it's the U.S.'s public image. The U.S. is revered as the greatest country in the world, and yet we're standing by this country who is doing so many human rights violations. So that was my debate for debate number 4, side B, to stop the U.S. support of Saudi Arabia in Yemen.